As promised earlier, it's time for my review of G.I. Joe, The Rise of COBRA. Yeah, I went and saw the movie a couple weeks ago, and it was okay. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't wonderful. It was sort of just middle of the road. You know, if it was out of 5 stars, I'd give it 2.5. It was just sort of straight down the line. Yeah, it was a fun little action flick. You could go and get some popcorn and waste a couple hours and chill with your friends or the girlfriend if, you know, she was inclined to go see an action movie with you. There was quite a bit of action and loud explosions, so if you were into that, you probably liked it a whole bunch. Matter of fact, when I went to the theater, I got there a little bit late, so I missed the opening credits and the first action scene. And I'm out in the lobby getting, you know, my soda and popcorn and whatever, and it's so loud that the clerk is having to ask me, "Do you want popcorn with that?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do. All right." You know, I mean, it was ridiculously loud in some parts of the movie. So you might want to, depending upon your theater, you might need to take earplugs just for the gunfire and explosions. This was basically an origin story doing a live-action version of the G.I. Joe franchise, and it had some plot twists away from regular G.I. Joe canon. Spoilers will now follow, so if for some reason you don't like spoilers or hadn't seen the movie, just stop watching the video now because spoilers will follow. Okay, first off, how can we start? The first thing was that, unfortunately, G.I. Joe gets its butt kicked through most of the movie. I think G.I. Joe actually only wins like 1 out of 4 battles or whatever that they show in the movie. The pit gets attacked, and Cobra steals the bomb. They tear up France there in Paris and destroy the Eiffel Tower. Okay, there's no way to look at that other than, Joe, that's a loss, okay? And then you go all the way through the movie, and they finally destroy the Cobra base. Only at the end of the movie you find out that Zartan has really replaced the president. So, you know, basically, G.I. Joe is screwed. And so I'm thinking like, gee, this isn't one of those movies where the good guys win most of the time. Yeah, they captured Cobra Commander and Destro, but and the Baroness probably switched sides, but, you know, Zartan's still out there. Storm Shadow may be dead, but, you know, they left it to where they could probably bring him back next time if they wanted. Some of the things that I didn't like, mainly the thing that I didn't like about the film was some of the changes in the plot line regarding various characters. First off, you had the whole thing about Baroness and Duke having this thing, and Cobra Commander is really the Baroness's brother. Okay, well this is totally made up for the movie. And on the one hand, plot-wise, the way they explain it, it works within the movie context. About, you know, how the Baroness formerly had a thing with Duke, and they get back together at the end, and, you know, she goes to prison, but there's probably a chance she'll be a good girl in the end. The only thing about this, one of the aspects of the original comic book and TV series that I liked about G.I. Joe was the whole Baroness-Destro relationship. Here you had an unusual set where you had a pair of villains who actually seemed to have a loving, caring relationship for each other. You know, they actually loved each other. Even more so than like in other villain relationships you see in comics like the Joker and Harley Quinn. That's sort of more one-sided. But, you know, Destro and the Baroness were pretty much really into each other in the series. And it's, you know, just one of those cool philosophical points that, like, well, you know, how can they be evil villains and yet still love each other? And if they love each other, how can they have this love? How can they be evil villains? You know, it's one of those philosophical concepts. But so they sort of blow that away because their relationship in in this movie isn't that really real. The other thing, by having the Baroness in with Duke, it breaks up that traditional love triangle between Duke, Scarlet, and Snake Eyes. You don't have that. And actually, I kind of missed that as well. That whole love triangle thing. And matter of fact, they didn't even have that too much between Scarlet and Snake Eyes. There's nothing between Scarlet and Duke. And the thing between Scarlet and Snake Eyes seems to be just sort of close friends. Scarlet ends up going for Ripcord. I guess they just needed another romantic plot line in the story for the other, action hero that they got, Mr. Wayans playing, Ripcord. I don't have anything against Ripcord, the character, or his portrayal, other than, this is out of nowhere, and him and Scarlet got a thing, and there's apparently nothing between him and her, her and Snake Eyes. I kind of missed that, too. What were some of the other plot twists? The whole Snake Eyes Storm Shadow relationship. Bit more antagonistic in the movie than it was so much in the comic book, although they were antagonists in the comic book as well. Because, of course, we know in the comic book, Zartan was really the one that killed Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow's master. Whereas in the movie, they pretty much seem to imply that it really was Storm Shadow that killed him. And then he's dealing with all these regrets of having, killed his master and gone through his life and everything. And he sort of seems to have the hots for the Baroness. And it's kind of strange. But, they have the climactic fight, and he apparently dies. But, they could probably bring him back, even though he fell in the big pit of lava or whatever. They could bring him back for another movie. And then, apparently, they give you the impression that Snake Eyes isn't horribly disfigured. He's just taken a vow of silence and wears that mask just because. Okay. Alright. That's okay. Let's see. What other things didn't I like about the movie? Two more things I didn't like about the movie. One, both the actress that played Scarlet and Baroness did a good job. So I have to give them props for their performances. But, neither one... Okay, the actress they have playing the Baroness isn't a real brunette. And the actress they have playing Scarlet isn't a real redhead. I mean, come on. Can't you find a brunette and a redhead actress that could have filled the role just as well? I think you probably could have. But, hey, that's just me. But talking about the romantic things, there really wasn't as much, in a lot of the previews, they play up sort of the sexy aspects of both the characters. And really in the movie, everything you saw was really in the previews. I was expecting to see Baroness in her Cobra, and it didn't happen. At least you got to see Scarlet in her Joe bra during the treadmill scene. But one final thing. They killed CoverGirl. Okay? They killed CoverGirl. Oh, total waste. Yeah, and it just goes back to my original theme that the Joes got their butt kicked most of the time in this movie. But there's a lot of good things about the movie, too. It's got some good action sequences. The gadgets are kind of nifty. Some of the acting is better than others. Like, I believe it's Dennis Quaid as Hawk, General Hawk. He steals every scene that he is in. And I heard that they supposedly went back and filmed extra scenes so he could have more time in the movie, and it was justified because he just overshadows every other actor he's in a scene in. And so he did an excellent job in there. And, there were some other good performances. And, it was a wild action ride. So it had its good points. So it wasn't a great movie, had some flaws, but, if you want to go see it, just sit back, relax, watch the explosions, see them run around, and, try to have fun with it. And watch the Eiffel Tower fall over. Well, there you go. There's my thoughts on G.I. Joe. I'm sure there will be a sequel, the Cobra Strikes Back, or, Cobra bites again or whatever. I'm sure it'll be going. Until then, have a great day.